Hey guys, Metalhead Forever 1101 here, and today I am bringing you all a game review. Now, since I already did the first gen of the Pokemon game series, I thought I would go ahead and do Gen 2 for you guys. Now, Gen 2 brought us Gold version and Silver version, which are held as classics among many Pokemon fans, myself included, mainly because they were, one, fantastic, and two, brought so many new things to the table, such as a brand new region called the Johto region. And in this one, you start your journey in New Barktown and continue on from there. And of course, you have the regular 8 gyms and the 8 badges in the Elite Four, and your goal to become the Pokemon champion. Yes, this is already known as part of the story. It's actually the premise of every Pokemon game. And of course starts out as you, again, as being a 10-year-old who dreams of becoming a Pokemon Master. However, it approaches it a bit differently too at the beginning. You see, instead of just flat out giving you a Pokedex, Professor Elm asks you to do a favor for him to go meet his friend Mr. Pokemon, and gives you either a Totodile, a Chikorita, or a Cyndaquil, which is of course your choice to pick for your protection on the way there. And you head your way up to Mr. Pokemon's house, and you meet Mr. Pokemon, and you get an egg from him, which is the big news that he told Professor Elm. However, there's also Professor Oak there from the previous games, and he sees that you're with a Pokemon, gives you a Pokedex, and hopes that you complete the Pokedex as well, even though pretty much been done. But again, there's also new Pokemon in this one, so yeah. Anyways, on your way back, you get a phone call from Professor Elm, who tells you he's been robbed because someone broke into the lab and stole a Pokemon. Well, on your way back, you eventually meet your rival, him, also known as the Douchebag, and I typically refer to him as Carmen because he is a major douchebag. Anyways, after you battle him and either lose or defeat him, you go back to the lab and you find out that's the same boy who stole the Pokemon and broke into the lab. Anyways, after that, you don't really worry about it as much, except when you run into him and battle him. You just collect your badges. After defeating gyms, you go on to beat the Elite Four. Again, the premise of every Pokemon game. However, there's an old organization that is well known from the first gen who pops up in this one, Team Rocket. Now, they have this weird delusional idea that the leader, Giovanni, who 3 years previous to this game in the first gen, said he was going to give up Team Rocket and just train his Pokemon, which anyone who's played the remakes of the first gen or just the first gen itself already know. And they try to conquer Johto in hopes that Giovanni will come back because they believe he's actually just in hiding. However, they soon learn after you defeat them that he just gave up on Team Rocket. So eventually you just continue your story of the badges and everything after that. Now, the gameplay is very similar to the previous gen, with the exception of quite a few things. First off, you get the Pokegear, which is actually a neat little system, topic, whatever it is. It's an item, and it works as a map, a phone, and a radio, which is really nifty. However, those phone calls you get from different trainers after collecting their phone numbers, after defeating them, gets quite annoying. But still, it's really cool. And another really neat thing about this was there's the day and night cycle, and that kind of adds more variety to the game and actually has you going out to collect Pokemon during the day and the night. Now, why am I mentioning it like that? Well, you see, there's only certain Pokemon you can catch during the night and only certain ones you can catch during the day, which adds a lot more excitement to the game itself, making you work harder, which actually at times can be very frustrating, but it's still a really neat feature that unfortunately did not carry over into Gen 3, but eventually came back when they brought us Gen 4, but we'll talk about that in the next couple reviews. Anyways, basically, again, not much of difference from the previous game. Again, they actually really, of course, this game also has not much to offer else except for the post-game, which brings us a neat little thing. You see the line here and the arrow, and above it, Kanto region? That's right. After you beat the main game, you actually get to go out and check out the Kanto region. I meant over. Anyway, not out. Anyways, you get to explore and you go through different cities, and not only that, but you battle the gym leaders of each of those cities. Some of them being the same gym leaders from the 3 years previous in Gen 1, but some of them being new, such as the final gym leader, instead of being Giovanni, is actually Blue, Red's rival from Gen 1. And speaking of Red, when you get to Pallet Town, you can go to his house, and his mother's there, but asks where Red is. Well, eventually, you travel all the way up to Mount Silver, and once you reach the top, you find the one, the only, Red, and can battle him, but only after you beat the other 8 gym leaders of the Kanto region. And it's honestly one of the hardest battles that you will have in the entire game, but it's so much fun. And it's just amazing that they were able to put all this into only the 2nd gen. You would figure it's like, oh, maybe Gen 3 or Gen 4 they would think of something like this. No. They bring us this in Gen 2, in Gen 2. And it's honestly amazing. However, the replay value of the game as a whole is absolutely 0. The first time playthrough, it's fun. Then you try to play through it again on, say, the other game, and it's boring. You don't want to play it again. Anyways, the presentation of the game itself is actually very good. As I explained, there's newer stuff added to it, which makes it even more fun to play. And the story itself is great. The post-game is fantastic. And there's also new Pokemon to catch, which some of them you can only find in the Kanto part of the game as well. And not only that, but there's a really, really awesome thing about this. It has better graphics and color for the first time. And this really shows the technical innovation of the game series becoming more technologically advanced. And that kind of didn't make sense, but oh well. And overall, the game itself presents itself as a truly fantastic game with, again, the new features, the new Pokemon, and the story itself being very good. And it presents itself as a much better game than Gen 1, stepping up in pretty much every category. And it's honestly just so much fun. But again, the replay value, there is none unless you just want that run of nostalgia. But this barely hurts the game at all. What hurts it is pretty much how the Pokemon are placed throughout too. That's another thing that I found to be rather odd, was just how they're placed, and you can't catch some of them until you get to Kanto, although that kind of makes it a bit more interesting. Overall, the game though is great. Now for the final verdict. While it is indeed a classic, it doesn't get a perfect 10 out of 10. However, it does get a 9 out of 9. It's a fantastic game, and it's an absolute classic. And if you can, get a ROM of it, because it truly is worth it. Well, that's all today, and I hope you enjoyed this mess of a review. Now, have a good day.